So we are on. What's your name, first of all?
My name's Josh.
Josh.
Yes.
I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
So what's your initial take on that question? What do you think happens after that?
I've definitely thought about it, obviously. I think that, my answer can change day to day, but I guess what I would say as of right now, my thinking is that our energy goes somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I'd like to think that consciousness is preserved. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure. I just think our energy goes somewhere, and I don't know if it's a more Eastern way of looking at it, but we sort of just become everything.
One with everything.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a pretty, well, I guess the Eastern way of, for a lot of Eastern religions, is it's called pantheism, which means we're part of God.
Yes.
So God is, creation is God. So everything that's created, or everything that, I shouldn't say created, because everything that exists would be God. So we would be part of God because we're part of creation. So, and so deism, I guess, would say there is a higher power, and we're not it. And with creation and with that, the deity would be the creator. So have you grown up in a certain religion? Or?
Yeah, so I'm actually from a suburb outside of Oklahoma City, so smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt.
Okay.
Churches everywhere. I grew up going to a Presbyterian Church, and we were pretty, we went. It wasn't just Sundays, it was Wednesdays too, youth group, all that stuff. Went to church camp. Actually, my grandfather, who I didn't really know, founded a church and even wrote books.
Oh wow!
Things.
Presbyterian Church?
He was non-denominational, and in
Okay.
fact, he was an interesting thing. He was actually a published segregationist minister.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
Okay.
I didn't know him. He died when I was maybe 6 months old,
Yeah.
and I didn't actually even find that out. That's kind of an interesting tidbit that I didn't find out till later.
That he was actively promoting segregation, or he just tolerated it?
He wrote a book called Place of Race that I think, and I discovered this kind of when I was doing a sort of investigative thing into my family, because that whole side of my family has since died, so I was kind of trying to go back and learn more about them.
Yeah.
And I guess he wrote a book called Place of Race that tried to use the story of
Probably
Ham.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and sort of, making some argument about the races, and I haven't even seen the book in person.
Okay.
I found this on some dark corner of the web somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, so we obviously were not, that was not something I grew up with.
Right.
He, like I said, he wasn't even around. We ended up going to Presbyterian Church, and I guess I fell away from that probably when I was a teenager. High school range, I started to kind of rebel against church and sort of just quit going to church.
Yeah. What do you think caused the rebellion or the falling away? Was there a particular issue or anything like that, or incident?
So I guess the church that I was in was pretty straight-laced, a lot of homeschool kids, and I was a public school kid. Dad had gone to prison. Didn't really feel like I fit in with the people that I was around with church, and I didn't really feel super supported either. Kind of felt like, and again, I was probably 13 when this was happening, but just kind of felt like, you guys are kind of doing your little uppity church thing, and I'm over here dealing with all this stuff that you guys don't know anything about or don't seem to really care about, and you don't like the same music I like, and and I think a lot of it was puberty, different teenage things, going through the stuff with my family, and I wanted to get into metal and wear black, and you know what I mean, and just dive full bore into all that kind of stuff. And they're still over here kind of with their acoustic guitar singing, you know, listening to like modern Christian radio or what, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I think
the modern comparison.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I think that there was just that disconnect, and I just went off and kind of did my own thing, and I think I ended up kind of having a lot of sort of animosity towards them, because I just didn't feel like they understood, and you know, all that stuff. So I mean, I don't feel that way anymore about it. I'm 31 now, so but I think that's what ended up happening.
But there is an odd, especially with homeschool kids. My impression, I grew up in public schools, but my impression is they oftentimes don't know how to socialize with people who are very different than themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have the experience at it, you know. They're lacking in just socialization in general. But then I don't know, a lot of homeschool, like there's networks where they get together with other homeschool kids, maybe at church.
That was I think we have a lot of that going on.
So they do have like a peer group, but it's very like-minded kids, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't that every single one of them was homeschooled, but there were, and I felt like the ones who weren't homeschooled still related more to the homeschool kids than they did to me. You know, it just felt just weren't edgy enough, I guess. I just wanted more edge. You know, I wanted a little bit more grit to what I was doing, and it was a big change.
Was it a small town or a suburb or what?
It was it's Edmond, Oklahoma, so a pretty major suburb of Oklahoma City. Probably at the time I was growing up there, 65 to 70,000 people. Somewhere in that range. So not tiny.
Let me ask you this, because I don't talk about this too much, but growing up in the suburbs and wanting that grit or wanting that edge, right? Do you feel like there's a desire to be, I'm guessing, authentic, or like I don't want to have this plastic, made, the whole idea. Like when I drive in the suburbs, I see a lot of like made communities, like where all the houses kind of look the same, and they like develop subdevelop.
That's exactly,
right? And so it's like you want to break out of that, How did that affect your?
I think so, and I think once you've had something happen, especially that shakes up your life, once the facade is broken by something that's not in your control, that's, I think, when you sort of start looking at all of that as being a negative thing. I think there's a lot of people who grow up in the suburbs and they're just happy that they have a good life.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Middle class family. Yeah, it's a middle class family maybe, and they just feel, hey, I've got my friends, I've got my group. I'm glad I don't live in a worse place. There's a lot, I could be doing a lot worse. But I think if you're one of those kids who sort of had something happen with them where where you start to realize, like, oh, there's actually other people out there. There's other experiences out there. Not everybody has it this good. And in fact, now I sort of identify with that because maybe I've had something happen that isn't that good. That's when you start to look at it in a negative way. You want to kind of tear it down. You want to kind of that sort of teenage anarchist mindset that some people get. Where you get angry at it because you think. And I think part of it's just feeling like, as a kid, feeling like I'm sure there's some privilege in it, feeling as if like you're owed this life, like everything was supposed to be neat and orderly, just like the houses in the neighborhood, these nice rows, everything's supposed to be lined up for me. And then when things aren't lined up for you and the world kind of slaps you in the face at an early age, you almost want to jump.
A big incident for you like that?
When my dad was in prison, I think that and there was some other stuff surrounding that was kind of just some darkness and things like that. And so I think that having that happen created a rift in my family, having my dad around, that was kind of, I think, because, my friends, everybody I was hanging out with, they were, things were pretty good with them, yeah, for the most part. And so, I will say that the little subdivision I lived in had a little more of that because we were surrounded by very wealthy neighborhoods. So it was kind of like we had our neighborhood that was fine, but we were surrounded by really nice neighborhoods. So everybody you're going to school with is, doing pretty well. Especially when you're in high school, we're driving nice cars to school, things like that. And the little group of kids that I was hanging out with on my street, it was a lot more likely that they had similar things happen with them too. So I kind of ended up sort of embracing those people rather than trying to reach for and belong with the other people. I sort of stayed down, and I think there were good things about that and bad things about that, because you obviously don't want to reach for the bottom, but at the same time, I think when you're a kid, all you really want to do is belong, and if you feel like you don't belong with them, you're gonna try to belong with everyone else. So,
it's interesting to me. I grew up in a small town, and then I decided I wanted to move to Chicago and live, in the basically pretty poor areas. I'm a high school teacher, so
cool.
And raised my kids in Chicago, and they all went to an all black grammar schools, and then they went, and then mostly black high schools, and then high school, all was the same one, and then they went, two of the three went to college in the suburbs, and developed all sorts of friends with suburban kids. But then when they graduated and moved back to Chicago, no one would come to Chicago to socialize with them. Really? And so they lost, the two that went to the suburbs lost a lot of friends due to this urban-suburban, divide. And so that's why I ask, just to have a better understanding of how that works. And a lot of people have moved from the suburbs to Chicago.
And I think that's, kind of what happened with me. I mean, I ended up moving out here because that same dad ended up dying, and I kind of was in a place where Oklahoma had sort of just become a negative for me. So moved out here, went to school. I actually work in education now too. I'm an English tutor. I think there's definitely a disconnect. I mean, a lot of people, I have had that conversation with people from back home who say, you think you're better than everybody now because, you've moved to the city and you hang out in coffee shops and whatever, you sort of, but
I don't know if you ever watched, my mother-in-law is in my house living with us, and anyway, the Hallmark movies, have you ever seen Hallmark movies? It's always about big city person comes home to small town and thinks they're better than everyone, and then finds their old lost love.
Movie like that with, I think it was Reese Witherspoon. It was in some Sweet Home Alabama.
That's another one.
It's just like that. And I mean, I still have some of my friends from back home I've known since I was 9-10 years old, so I still have these lifelong friendships that I've maintained.
And they're the ones that are more into the...
They're okay with it. They would be out here too if they could be. Things like that. And and I kind of, honestly, those weren't even, I was still, even when I was going through that phase, I still sort of had these are people I hang out with when I want to express this part of my personality, and these are people I hang out with whatever. So I actually think the people who were less into that are the ones that have stuck around, really. We're just talking about like my goth phase or whatever. Those friends, those friends weren't really, we kind of all moved in different directions. It's the ones that I've known from before that who were my friends when I was a young child, like in elementary school.
Geographic friends, like ones in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so some that are in the neighborhood, some that, I mean, everything in that little pocket was not too far away. So even if they were in a neighborhood just over, they're just clusters of subdivisions all throughout this area. So, you might, everything's like Ripple Creek and Creekside and Rolling Meadows, whatever, all that. So
I've always wondered what, what that type of lifestyle is like So,
I mean, it's honestly, I look back on it now, and yeah, when I was young, I kind of had a lot of feelings about being mad about things, but when I look back on it now, honestly, I had a pretty good childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, it was, had a few tough things here and there, but I think everybody does. And I think as a kid, you tend to think that you're the only one going through anything.
Yeah.
Then when you get older, you start to sort of realize that, you know, some people are just better at hiding things than others.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad place to grow up. I think it was fine. And as far as the church thing goes, those people weren't bad people. You know, I've still got some of them as friends on Facebook just because I went back curious, and a lot of them ended up great.
Yeah. If I talked to you 10 years ago, you have a different view, right? You would have been a little more critical. 10
years ago I might have still been a little bit more critical, but you know, once you look back and you see people, I'm starting with kids now. You know, it's just a totally different thing. So you look back and you say, you know, it's nice that people have ended up doing okay, and you know, I would have rather probably gone to that church than some of the other ones. I don't think it was a particularly bad church. You know, there's a church on every corner out there. The amount of churches in this part of Oklahoma is absolutely unbelievable.
How does that work? Like, are that many people going to church?
Yeah, apparently they're still there. You know, they're maintaining. Because there's a church, it seems like, on every corner.
I've done these kind of conversations in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I ask people, you know, what they believe, and then they say, well, I'm a Christian, you know, and what does that mean for you? It's like they get very up in arms, like, how dare you even ask? Because of course I am. Why question?
Well, cultural Christianity is a big thing there. Yeah. I don't think so many of them. There are definitely people who are devout. Yeah. But I think it's more of a cultural thing, and a lot of times, I mean, there's a church there called Life Church. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I think as far as...
the one that started like lifechurch.com?
Yes, they were the original, like the guys...
I've not even heard of that lately, but for a time there, it was like I was seeing it everywhere.
Yeah, I think the guy's name is like Craig Groeschel or something, the founding pastor, and he was the first guy to really treat church like a business and say, hey, we need to get on this internet thing and start with the apps. I think they were the first one to have an app, and now they've got all these different churches, and when you walk in there, it's just like flashing lights, and I think one of them had a skate park and all these had Xboxes out. It was like that it was one of the big ones. And I think that as far as congregation overall, when you add up all the different sites that they have, it might be, I mean, it's one of the biggest in the country. It's like top 3 at least. Yeah, so they've got that going on out there. And then a lot of Baptists. Yeah. Methodists. Not as many Catholics. Yeah. It's mainly a Protestant.
So your understanding of God right now, you would say God is part of the universe, or like the energy that we all join, or something, or would you feel like there is a separate creator God? You know.
I would like to think that because it gets confusing. Because some people say God is everything, right? Like God, He's the creator, but He's also everything. Yeah. So I'd like to think that all religions kind of have the right, are kind of looking at the same thing and interpreting it differently. Okay. And so I think He could be a creator God, but He could also still be everything. Maybe He created Himself. I mean, He's supposed to be older than time and supposed to just be this entity that has existed forever and ever and will never not exist and has never not existed, then it could still, I guess both things could be true. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Was there a time when you would say you believed in a personal God that you could have a relationship with?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
I guess I'm divulging a lot of funny or kind of interesting things about myself, but I was actually a Christian grammar. When I was from 11 to 13, I was like a little salt and pepper group. I had a friend who moved in. He was a Southern Baptist black kid from Mississippi. His dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. I was actually baptized in a Southern Baptist black church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we would go around to different churches and do our rapping and stuff.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't until I was 14, that was when I kind of started sliding into this other phase of my life, that I kind of got away from that.
Yeah.
But during that time, I mean, obviously I was writing music about my relationship with God and Jesus and all that stuff. And I was very religious for a while there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was really into it. I would go to church camp and I'd raise my hand up and sing and all that, all that stuff,
The whole 9 yards.
Yes, all of it. Yep. So, I mean, I was definitely really into it.
That sounds like a very young age, like early teens, though.
Yeah, I was young. Yeah,
I mean, just cognitively we develop, like we change.
Yeah.
So, do you, could you identify, did you know you were sliding away from it, or did you recognize what was happening?
Yeah, I think I did kind of. And I think a lot of it happened around the time that my dad was actually getting out.
Mm-hmm.
So while he was in, I was sort of doing the rapping thing.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got out, I think this switch just kind of flipped in me. And I just started feeling like, I started feeling fake. I would go and I would do a performance or something at a church, and I would just feel like, I don't mean this. I don't feel like I mean this. I feel like I'm just here and I'm kind of doing this. And I think that was what eventually started why I kind of got away from it. Yeah,
My guess, my initial reaction to what you're saying is that, how sometimes, I've brought people to church with me who I know are not believers or whatever, even if they are.
Yeah.
I view church totally different with that person sitting next to me. If it's a person that means a lot to me, because I'm all of a sudden seeing things through their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm wondering if, knowing your dad was going to get out, would he look at your life and start to, like you were starting to think, okay, instead of just being involved in it and being immersed in what you were doing, now all of a sudden you're kind of standing on the outside and looking at it through his eyes.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe it could have been a little.
Self-consciousness.
Yeah.
You become aware of yourself rather than being immersed in it.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't that he was super non-religious, but he definitely, had that sort of, he was in a biker group and all this stuff, and he was kind of a bad boy or whatever, and I think that he had been raised, it was his father that was the one who wrote all the books and all that stuff, and he was just a very, from what I heard, because I didn't know him, he was very strict, not a loving father at all, just all he wanted to do was do his work and preach, and I think that my dad had been adopted. I think that it was his mom who really wanted a child. I don't think his dad really even wanted a kid. He just wanted to read the Bible and write essays. And I think my dad actually sort of rebelled as well. That's what ended up with him going down the road he did. So there could have been some mirroring there, maybe a little bit.
Feeling like you're seeing things through his eyes, and also maybe feeling like you're going to have to defend what you're doing to him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I don't think he had a huge problem with it. I think he was fine. I think it was more just that I think I was becoming an angry kid. I think that I went through a phase there between the ages of about 14 all the way up through high school where I was just, I don't know that all of it was totally just, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. I think that there was a lot of stuff coalescing, hormonal changes, all kinds of stuff like that. And I think I don't think I really,
turbulent time of life.
I don't think I totally knew exactly what I was doing. I think that I just, wanted to be different and wanted to do something different, and felt like all of a sudden this thing I'm doing over here now just doesn't feel like me anymore. Now the thing that feels like me is this. You go from being things are fun and I'm having a good time to all of a sudden you just start to feel like, oh no, here we go. now you're in this other place now, and you want to do that. So
so now as an adult and looking back on it, do you feel like you have an understanding of Christianity, or like what would you say is the gospel? I guess the reason that, well, let me ask you this first of all. I get very often this idea that we're, like our soul or our spirit is energy, and and that it's going to join, like a larger reservoir of energy after we die. Do you get that from anywhere in particular? Like, like different beliefs have like maybe a religious text or a book about it. Did you come about that idea from someone else, or how did you get that?
So I think, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Alan Watts. He's kind of an old school hippie Eastern philosopher from the 50s and 60s.
Does he have a lot of videos?
A lot of YouTube videos. Yeah. I have a friend who's really, he's committed his life to Buddhism. I grew up with him in the suburbs, and he was first getting into that, kind of turned me on to Alan Watts. So some things from him. When I was young, I was actually, once I got away from Christianity, even though I was in that dark phase, I started getting into Eastern stuff, Jainism, Buddhism, different things, just out of interest, curiosity, because now you're looking for a home. Yeah. And if you grow up in that in a religious community, then religion is you have to pick one. You can't just not be religious, So I sort of learned just from piecing things together here and there, and having friends who were into it. So I guess that's where I sort of came about the idea that, okay, this is a thing. There are people who look at it this way. Yeah. And my understanding of Christianity now is, I guess it's not nearly as negative as it used to be. My mom gets a lot from it. My mom is I think it's really enriched her life. My grandma, who lived with me for a few years growing up, just a beautiful woman. She was the most religious, the most Christian person I think I could ever imagine. Yeah. Not just culturally Christian, but she didn't even like watching Judge Judy because she thought she was too mean to people. She just, was very peaceful, would hand out little biblical pamphlets and stuff at Halloween instead of candy. And so I think, my view of it now is that it's something that helps people. I guess that's the way I look at it. It's something that helps people, and if it's real, then that's great. Yeah. But I can't say. I guess I like that it does good things for people. I'm not one of those people who, you get a lot of people saying, Christianity started all these wars, and every religion is bad because it makes people hate each other. Yeah. I look at it more on the individual level. Just one person can go to church, and they're having a rough time, or they're having issues with life, and they can sing some songs and say some prayers and feel as if there's a good energy that's coming over them, then that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So,
so I hear you saying like your grandmother would be one of those people in our life that would make you want to be a Christian.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there's probably, my guess is there's probably other people that would call themselves Christian. Oh yeah. Who make you not want to be a Christian.
Yeah, I think and I think a lot of people base their view of Christianity on those one or two people. Yeah. I think we'd really be surprised if we all look back in our history. I think we do this with a lot of groups, but we do it with Christians too, is that you meet a few people, and how those people treat you, unfortunately, we do this. I think it's how people, obviously there's problems with prejudice and racism and things like that. I think that same mental pattern of the way our thinking, I think it happens with Christians too. You meet a few people who claim to be Christians, they don't treat you nice. Oh, I don't like Christians. Yeah. And you meet a few of them that are really beautiful people, maybe you end up, liking them. Yeah.
Or, it could be that we're influenced by those people, or it could be that we find what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to be a Christian, therefore I'm going to find some examples of bad Christians
Yeah.
and I'm going to focus on them.
Yeah.
Or I do want to be a Christian and I'm going to find some
Yeah.
good examples, right? Or I'm going to focus on them.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: if all the claims of the Bible were true, would you be a Christian? If you knew for sure that everything historically was true, is it a I don't know if you have questions with like, is the Bible true or did these things actually happen? But if you knew for sure that they were, do you think you would be a Christian?
I'd like to think so. I mean, historically true or spiritually true?
Both.
Okay.
Well, like historically.
Because if I knew for a fact that I was going to go to hell unless I did something, for sure I'm doing that thing. I mean, there's not even a question. Oh, if someone told me, hey, I know for a fact, you are going to, this is going to be your eternity if you don't do this, this, and this, then I'm going to do that, of course. So, if I knew for a fact that everything in the Bible was true, then of course, if I knew everything in the Quran was true, I would be a Muslim. You know what I mean? If I knew everything in the Bhagavad Gita was true, I'd, be Hindu. So I think it's the same with any of them. Because I want answers, I guess, as much as anybody else does.
Yeah.
So if someone gave me those answers,
They must be about
they
ready to
close at 5. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate the conversation. I'll turn this off.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll give you my information where you can